Welcome to ES3N.
Where are you? Where do things stand between the Knicks and Kidd right now?
Okay, so here's the thing. I know that there's going to be this whole thing that you see, and there's this formality about permission to speak. When you have a coach who is coaching another team, you don't ask to interview them. You ask to hire them, okay? And you don't ask to hire them unless you think you're going to get a yes. So you pre-negotiate the idea of what it would take to hire them. And that's the stage where I believe we're at right now, okay? The Knicks would not have begun this process unless, number one, Kidd wasn't the guy they wanted to hire. They're not interviewing 7 guys and then picking him, okay? And number two, they wouldn't have gone down this process if they didn't think Jason Kidd was at least somewhat interested in coming to New York, okay? So let's understand those formalities. Now this is why this is going to be in the Mavericks' court, okay? This does happen. It's not unheard of for a team to come after a sitting coach. It's happened a couple of times in the last year in the NBA. Some of them are known, some of them are not known. One that is known, for example, was last year, Phoenix was really interested in hiring Chauncey Billups away from the Trailblazers. The Trailblazers said, no, we're holding on to Chauncey Billups. And by the way, they've subsequently given him an additional contract, okay? So the Mavericks can just say, no, Jason Kidd is under contract. We're about to draft Cooper Flagg. We're going to bring him in and have him play alongside Anthony Davis. We think we're going to get Kyrie Irving back. They could just say that. Or they could say to Jason Kidd, we want to make sure you're not even caring about the Knicks. Let's do something to make you not care about the Knicks and give him a new contract. Or they could make a deal. And historically, making a deal for coaches is cheap. The last few head coaches who have been traded, but a couple of second-round picks. That's cheap. That means nothing. So if you're the Mavericks, you got to figure out who we're going to get to coach. And if the answer isn't great, then you're going to hold on to your man.
Stephen A., do you think Kidd should leave Dallas considering all that they have and potentially getting Cooper Flagg for New York?
I explained this yesterday. It makes no sense unless you have an issue with ownership. It makes no sense. Because when you look at Cooper Flagg, when you look at Anthony Davis, when you look at the ultimate return of Kyrie Irving, who has a very good relationship with Nico Harrison. Nico believes in this brother, and we all should. The man is a champion and a marvelous basketball player, okay, who's been a model citizen in Dallas. Let's remind everybody that with all the noise that was going on in Brooklyn, that was not the case. That has not been the case in Dallas with Kyrie Irving. You couldn't ask for a better person and a better leader if you're the Dallas Mavericks, according to them, and I believe them. So you have that going on, right? Why would you want to leave? You would want to leave because new ownership is taking over. Mark Cuban is no longer there. And evidently, you know what? You're not feeling good about the direction of the franchise in terms of its leadership up top, because it certainly isn't personnel. It isn't personnel, especially with Cooper Flagg coming in and what have you. Also, you got to take into consideration, you got Jalen Brunson. Jason Kidd is familiar with this kid. You know World Wide West and Leon Rose. Jason Kidd has known these people. And for better or worse, Dolan ain't going anywhere and Leon Rose ain't going anywhere. So the level of continuity that you're talking about is something that you have to take into consideration. And as cool as Jason Kidd and Nico seem to be, it would also provoke questions about what Nico Harrison's future may be in Dallas as well, and how Jason Kidd may be eyeing that. Because from a personnel standpoint, there's no reason for him to leave Dallas.
Yeah, speaking of personnel, Keith, I want to come to you on this. Do you feel like Jason Kidd puts New York over the top with this same roster? Is he that much of a step up from Thibodeau?
Playing for J. Kidd, I'm not really sure if he's that much of a step for Thibodeau. They both are great coaches, but I think that the other side of the basketball, like being connected to the players, I think that side means a lot. And I think what Wendy said, you know, the relationship between J. Kidd and JB, obviously he had him as a rookie and he kind of built him up. I think that's more important than actually like putting him over top, because both of these coaches are great coaches. Don't get me wrong, J. Kidd, you know, was just in the Western Conference Finals last year. He went to the finals. Wendy said, the guys are both great coaches. I don't think that it puts either one over top, but J. Kidd has all his tools in Dallas. So for me, I really don't think the move would be smart, because obviously you know everything. You're comfortable with the system. It's your system. You've been there a couple years, and I just think you push forward with that.
It's a good reminder, though, that they had Jalen Brunson as a rookie. Go ahead, Ashley. And then
That's where I was going. That's where I was going. Jason
that
Kidd.
relationship.
Jason Kidd had Jalen Brunson. And you have to remember this is very, very important. Luka got hurt that year in the postseason. And it was Jalen Brunson primarily who carried them to the Western Conference Finals.
I wonder who
We keep forgetting
KD and Giannis would be more interested in playing with, but we don't have time for that.
There are so many tentacles. It is all so fascinating. And let's start with the first piece of that. If acquiring Kevin Durant would involve trading away Karl Anthony Towns, and I don't want to put you in a compromising position, so I'm not going to ask you whether they should do it or not, because you have to deal with those guys every single day. But as you hear him say that, what goes through your mind?
I would say that's probably the only way it gets done. You know, anytime you're going to make a trade for a guy who's making $54 million, you've got to look at your team and say, you can't afford to give up multiple players. So it would have to be a big contract for another big contract and swap out players. And that would tell you a lot about how they felt Karl Anthony Towns fit in New York. While the regular season was great, there were enough times during the playoffs there was concerns defensively. And so you're swapping out one superstar for another, and that's the only way I think it can get done.
Bart Scott, you host a general sports talk show in New York. So while obviously your primary expertise is football, you talk about this stuff all the time. Should the Knicks trade Karl Anthony Towns to Phoenix for Kevin Durant?
I believe so. We had that conversation. A lot of the callers believe that, maybe Kevin Durant at his age is not a good fit, but you have to have an expiring contract, a contract that's going to be gone in 2 years. If you think you're going to give Brunson, who's eligible for like $65 to $70 million a year in a couple of years.
Don't go so far down the road.
Yeah.
Next year.
Yes.
Do the Knicks win a championship, a better chance of winning a
so.
championship with KD than Karl Anthony Towns?
I believe so, but you got to depend on Mitchell Robinson to stay healthy, and that's a big if.
Right. So you,
Yes.
Peter Schrager, Knicks fan, you make that trade?
I just watching the playoffs, just looking for offense at the end there. KD is instant offense. I know it seems so easy and low-hanging fruit, just get the best player. Kevin Durant can, on his own, score 21 points in a fourth quarter. And I liked what Kat did this year. I would hate to see them blow the whole thing up. But Durant, even as a hardcore, very appealing. It really is.
Last 12 years, he's shot 50% every season from the field and 40% from three. He's been an incredibly efficient scoring machine.
You know what bothers me as a fan of sports watching Karl Anthony Towns? Get back on defense. Like, how many shots did the Pacers make after a made basket by the Knicks? Like, that lack of hustle bothers me.
Who's going to rebound?
He is a flawed star, but they do very different things. He is also, while he is a flawed star, he's also a lot younger than Kevin Durant, and that brings me back to Brian Windhorst. Because if you told me, and this is what I'm hearing from the Knicks fans that I encounter just everywhere you go in this city, it's less about KD than it is about Giannis. Now, you told us earlier this morning that Giannis right now is in Europe with his family, and so far the Bucks haven't heard anything from him. Does that suggest to us that the draft is going to come and go, the summer is going to come and go, and Giannis is still going to be in Milwaukee?
Well, I'm very careful to say anything on June 10th that is still applicable by June 25th, Greeny. The league is just too volatile. But right now, there is no Giannis Antetokounmpo trade market. There is no Giannis Antetokounmpo trade discussions. He has not asked for it. The Bucks are not looking to trade him. And I just want to point something out about Karl Towns. While everybody in New York may want to trade him, he is an in his prime all-NBA player that contributed significantly to the Knicks going the farthest they have in 25 years.
Right.
I just want to point that out.
No, it's 100% right. That's why it is a difficult decision. But Kevin Durant, however, is, you could make an argument, the single greatest scorer of the basketball that was ever born. And if he was 5 years younger, it would be a no-brainer.
He'd be blowing
and that's why a much younger Giannis, if I'm the Knicks and I'm going to trade Karl Anthony Towns, a much younger Giannis would be a much more attractive package to me.
This is, to me, how you get there is KD's getting his last year. You're opening up a salary spot. Like you're clearing cap, basically.
And you trade Cat for KD, you have a year with KD, and then you make a Giannis move?
And then you try to open up money, and then that's where Giannis has the ability.
I like Kevin Durant with a giant chip on his shoulder, though. Kevin Durant lives and breathes basketball, guys. I know I don't cover it like you and Wendy, but I just feel like that is his all-in. That is his life. And if you tell him New York City, 1 year, it's almost like Rodgers and the Steelers. You've got a chance to do it and erase any narrative.
Please don't say Rodgers and the Steelers compares to this. Please.
I'm saying 1 year, go do it.
Let me get Wendy back in here. Go ahead, Wendy.
This is why for weeks I keep saying that this has to do with what Durant may want. Durant may not want to go somewhere that's not ready to extend him. He has 1 year on his contract, and this depends. If he's going to get to choose, he's probably going to want to choose someplace that wants to extend him. If you're going to trade for him as a rental, I'm not sure he's going to be as interested in going there. And the Suns don't have to listen to him, but that's why where he goes and what happens with his contract is very important in this. You can't, if a team looks at him as a rental, he may not want to go there.
Okay, so we've got the Durant and the Giannis covered. Let's get to the other piece of this that Wendy talked about, which is the Jason Kidd and the coaching piece of it. Mike T, when we were talking, and again, Mike T was a general manager in 2 different places in the NFL, so you understand the chess game that is being played. What is it you said to us in our meeting this morning about the way these decisions get made?
This search started several months ago, Greeny, and here's why. You need to know what your alternatives are. Look, Coach Thibodeau got him to the finals, as Wendy just alluded to. So if it's, fill in the blank, Danny Hurley, Jay Wright, you're talking to those people. You're assessing what your options are. You're not indiscriminately waking up when you lose to the Pacers, say, oh, we're going to move on from Coach Thibodeau. They know what the chessboard looks like. They know what their options are. And they must feel really good about Coach X, because if not, you can't make this move without a viable solution.
So you're saying they probably kicked the tires on every one of those options. We've heard Jay Wright's not interested, whatever the situation is with Hurley. And now it's out there that the guy they want is Kidd. Is there a concern that if for whatever reason now Jason Kidd doesn't come, whatever winds up happening, it's going to appear as though the Knicks didn't get the guy they want?
Well, you have more than one option. He's right now the first target, right? That's the first one you go for. Clearly, he's interested in coming. What's it going to cost? 2 second-round picks? It's the one thing the Knicks have is a ton of second-round picks. So you throw those on the table and you make the deal done if he wants to go. Dallas is the only one here now. They could say no, but do you really want that situation with a coach where he doesn't really want to be there? So that's all something to watch. And let's just say it doesn't work out. Let's say they can't do it. I'm telling you, there is more than one, and it could be another coach that is working for another team. We shall see.
Teaser.
I
ain't see no fingers, but I got the
look,
I don't need to do that.
I'm not O's. I can't figure out who it is you're talking about.
I'm just saying.
Can I take a guess?
I am telling you that, you don't fire a coach with those credentials and that resume if you don't have the options that you know. I know one of these is going to happen.
I would rather have Udoka, who came from that Boston market.
Yeah,
and
Houston's not letting
They're
him
not
go.
letting him go.
Wendy, final word.
I know that there's a lot of excitement about the Knicks, but the Knicks have a lot of competition in this field, including for the head coach. The competition is the coach is under contract. So you should never assume anything in the NBA when a player or coach is under contract.
And that's it for today's episode on ES3N. We're not just here to entertain. We're here to add value. Whether it's a new perspective on the game, a deeper look into an athlete's mindset, or a moment that made you think, this is the kind of content that stays with you after the final whistle. Sports teach us more than just how to win. They teach us patience, discipline, how to lose with grace and come back stronger. And that's the message we're building here together. So if today's video gave you something real, something to take into your next workout, your next challenge, or even just your day, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe. Not for the algorithm, but because we're building a community that gets it. Thanks for being part of this. Keep learning, keep leveling up. And as always, this is ES3N, signing off with gratitude and grind.
Want to turn your knitting into a business? I'll show you how.
Thanks for watching. You're tuned into the ES3N network. We appreciate you spending your time with us. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss a drop. Got thoughts or theories? Drop them in the comments. We read them all. Share this video to help keep important stories alive. Until next time, stay sharp, stay curious, and remember, there's always more to the story. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. But stay tuned. Coming up next, I'll be adding even more value by showing you exactly how to get started with your knitting journey.